Hi creativity friends, it is Erica Nygaard and today I'm going to teach you how to make stem bins. So a stem bin, why did I say it like that? That was an odd way to say it. I'm trying to, maybe I'll spell it S-T-E-M, STEM. And it's kind of a big word in education right now. And if you find yourself working in a school that's kind of more traditional and won't let you play as much as you would like to play, you can kind of sneak some playtime in through STEM bins. So when I was teaching, I was really fortunate and I got to teach in schools that were supportive of play. I got to teach in a Reggio school and we got to do lots of project-based learning, and the kids got to have a lot of free time and flexibility with what they learned and how they learned. There was one year when I first started teaching that I was in a more traditional type school and my kids were not allowed to play. Needless to say, that did not go over well for me. I didn't last long. I moved on to bigger and better things, and it made me who I am today, which is a huge advocate for play-based learning, really for all age groups, but especially for early childhood students. So if you find yourself in a school that is not conducive to play, you can kind of sneak some playtime in through STEM bins. I'm gonna show you my STEM bins. When I was teaching, I never actually used STEM bins because I hadn't heard of them. It wasn't until I was kind of doing some research. My husband is a science teacher and he's really into everything science, technology, engineering, and math. We kind of came across this concept together and we thought this would be a great way to introduce our 2-year-old, well she's 2.5, to getting to kind of learn about STEM through play. And then I got to thinking this would be a really good thing to put in your classroom. It gives them that playtime that is just essential for their development. So I'm gonna run through these STEM bins that I just made for you. I haven't got to try them out on my daughter yet, but I know when she wakes up from her nap, she is going to flip out. She will be so excited with all these new things to play with, and the best part is she's going to be learning so much. So let's go take a look. Okay, so you get a first hand look at my kids' messy playroom to actually just kind of shove some toys out of the way so that I could lay out my STEM bins. Now, if you're thinking, I don't have room in my classroom to have a whole maker space or a whole junk art area like we were talking about, this is the perfect compromise, if you can call it a compromise. Look how little, you could put this on one single shelf. What I did is I got 10 pencil boxes. Each of these pencil boxes were 97 cents a piece. Financially, as a teacher, you know you're gonna have to kind of invest in some of the things you put in your classroom. I always am thrifty with what I put in my classroom and what I do in life. I'm just a thrifty person. So 97 cents a piece, you can definitely manage that. I got 10. You could get as many as you wanted, but I wanted to show you 10 STEM ideas that you could do with your little ones. So I'm gonna scooch up closer and we'll take a look at our materials. Okay, so our first STEM bin is filled with these little Unifix cubes. These are great and most teachers already have them in their classroom. Our next STEM bin is filled with toothpicks and Play-Doh. You could actually substitute the toothpicks if you wanted. You could use Q-tips if you wanted something less pointy and dangerous, depending what age group you're teaching. So with this one, they use the Play-Doh to roll up little balls and then use the toothpicks to make like the formation. Next STEM bin is pipe cleaners. Obviously kids can use pipe cleaners to manipulate, to bend, to fold, to twist together. You get the idea. The next STEM bin is popsicle sticks. I included 2 different sizes, smaller ones and bigger ones. And I've also seen people put Velcro on the tips of these and then the children can connect them together to make little creations. But if you don't have Velcro, you can also lay them flat on the ground as you build. The next STEM bin is dominoes, and Willa is gonna freak out because Papa never lets her play with his dominoes and Mom just put them in a STEM bin. The next STEM bin is Jenga blocks. You have regular colored Jenga blocks, or you can opt for the colorful ones, which is what I did. These are very inexpensive. You can pick them up at any store. The next STEM bin is a bucket full of attribute blocks. Pretty much every early childhood classroom I've ever been in has had these. Stick them in a bin. The next STEM bin is pieces of note card paper and tape, so the kids can fold these and tape their creations together. The next STEM bin is, I've got some recyclables in there, some little pieces of fabric, just kind of odds and ends, loose parts that you find around your home or around your classroom. And then my last STEM bin is items from nature. So I was just looking around in my backyard and I had some mulch and some neat little leaves and twigs and some little stones. So obviously, depending on which age group you're teaching, you may have to change the materials out. Some materials may be too small for little ones, or like we talked about with the toothpicks, they may be too pointy. But this is a really great activity to keep in mind. Maybe your hope is to teach kindergarten one day, but when you sign on with your first school, they stick you in second grade. And this is a great activity for second graders. Maybe you're working with 2 or 3-year-olds in an early childhood center. You can definitely modify this down to where it's developmentally appropriate for them. And also remember, you can kind of help scaffold their learning. I know when I was working with Willa with the toothpicks and the Play-Doh, she needed help making the little tiny balls to form the images. So think about that as you're designing your STEM bins. You may have to go ahead and make your little connector pieces before you give it to the child, and just always consider where they are developmentally and how you can best support them in their creative development. The neat thing about STEM bins is that you can fill them with anything. Anything that's gonna be open-ended, loose parts, anything that's gonna spark their creativity or their curiosity. You can fill them with fabric, you can fill them with things you find outside, you can fill them with recyclables, you can fill them with sand or rice or beans. Anything that the kids can dig their hands into and play with is a STEM bin. Now, the reason we're calling them STEM bins and not play bins is because play has almost become like this dirty word in education. But with STEM bins, you're gonna get your administration on your side. They're gonna come in and say, "Are these kids playing?" And you're gonna be like, "No, they're learning STEM." Now let's take a quick look at how they work in the classroom. So one thing you're gonna need to make are called task cards. So what you'll do is you take notebook card. Actually, people even sell these if you're not creative and you don't want to make your own. I am thrifty and I always just want to make my own stuff. But you're gonna need 5 or 6 little cards that give the students ideas for what they can make with their STEM bin. So the idea is you take the task cards, you're gonna put them with the bucket that the child's gonna play with, and then you give that to them. So they get a set of task cards and they get a STEM bin. So the idea is that when a child has a specific STEM bin, that is very hard to say, they're gonna make each of the tasks in your task cards with the same material. So this is gonna encourage creative thought because they're gonna have to think how they would make each one in a different way. So when you look at these different task cards, the child will have to decide, how am I gonna make a boat? How am I gonna make a car? How am I gonna make a bridge? You can also do extension activities. If these activities are too easy for your little ones, you can have them make it hold weight. Or you can make it 3D, or like a tunnel it has to be able to put something through it, and maybe different sizes. Maybe a golf ball has to go through it, then maybe a tennis ball has to go through it. And then I always like to put in like a little personal connection, so have them make theirself. It'll be representative of who they are as a little person. For example, if I were making a boat out of my natural materials, I might make like a little raft on the bottom with some leaves to be my sail and use some rocks to be the water. If I were making a boat out of Play-Doh and toothpicks, I could make it lay flat on the ground. I could make it three-dimensional. I could make it, like I said, you could make challenges, have them float it down a little creek, so you could make it have to float or hold weight. If you were making your boat out of the attribute blocks, you could have them do some creative tasks. You could add water on the bottom. I put a little birdie on top. So really, the sky is the limit as far as what they can create. As you can see, the product looks vastly different depending on the material you're using and also your interpretation of that material. The idea is to get children to become more flexible in their thinking, to be innovative in the way that they solve problems, and just to become more creative as an individual. My challenge for you is to create your own STEM bins that you can use in your classroom. You don't have to go out and buy anything. Just look around your house and see what you can come up with. You could use baskets, you could use pencil boxes, or you could even use Ziploc bags. Just have some fun with it and share your ideas with the rest of the class. I can't wait to see what you all come up with.